Hi, and welcome to This Sustainable Life Untethered. I am your host, Alison, and I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Dr. Neil Mclatchie. Welcome, Neil.
Hello.
Neil is a psychology lecturer, a martial artist, an executive coach, and most impressive of all, my partner of 11 years. But the thing that I want to focus on for our conversation today is the incredible physical transformation that he's made. He's lost almost 30 kilograms of fat, and he's gone from obese to lean and muscly, which is really, really impressive. And his transformation has not been like an overnight success story. I think it's been much slower and more gradual over a number of years, which I think is interesting in itself. And I hope that we can dive into what that means with regards to resilience and tenacity and sticking with the long-term goal. But we'll get started. So, Neil, there are so many people who struggle with weight and eating, myself included. And even though you are a tall guy at 6'2", at your heaviest, you were 107 kilos, which gave you a BMI in the obese range. How did you get to that point? And what was your relationship like with food and exercise up until that point?
Well, it's nice that you said it was incredible. I actually don't think, if you look at me, I don't think I look incredible. So I actually think of my weight loss as having been kind of like an everyday weight loss. Everyone can do what I've done. It's not some kind of amazing, incredible transformation. I know what you just said makes it sound incredible, going from obese to the healthy range and from losing 30 kilos. But I do think that it's every day incredible. It's incredible when you're working full time and juggling hobbies and interests and careers and whatnot. So I think I got to being obese because for most of my teenage years and into my 20s, I was very active and also had I was naturally quite lean. So I had, abs and stuff into my 20s, and I was always doing some kind of sports or martial arts. But then what happened was the sports slowly decreased. So I remember when I was at university, I taught at a mixed martial arts club, and I became a coach in my last couple of years there. And as a coach, you suddenly start forgetting, you don't have to do the exercises and the warm-ups. You now get to yell at people, getting them to do the exercises and the warm-ups. And you spend most of the time, rather than kicking pads, walking around telling people how to kick pads. So I think I started gaining the weight when my exercise went down, but my eating habits from my late teens and early 20s didn't improve at all. I still had it in my head that I was quite a naturally lean person and I just don't gain weight. And then it's actually amazing, I didn't own a scale back then. And
wow.
Yeah, of course. I didn't have any kind of scale. I didn't track my weight or anything. It didn't even occur to me as being necessary. And one day I just woke up fat. That's literally how it happened. Like one day I just realized, the kind of comments people were making about me were no longer, God, I wish I could eat anything like Neil, or those kind of comments. They were kind of, Neil's a big guy. Neil's a big, no one was ever rude about it, but it was just those kind of comments that I suddenly started to realize I had gained the weight. And suddenly weight loss became a thing for me, and constantly striving to lose weight. I would say that is one of the things about this. So that, like, even when I was really fat, I was constantly obsessed with trying to lose weight. It's kind of like a vicious cycle where I would be eating and then I'd be going to the gym 5 times a week and then dieting a couple of days a week. And then I'd slip off and I'd binge, and then I'd feel bad about binging, so I'd eat more. But it was a constant battle to try and get to a place where I actually thought I couldn't get to after a while. I just assumed, given the amount of exercise I'm doing, given how much I care about trying to lose weight, the fact that I haven't lost weight means I'm just not naturally gifted.
And how did you feel about your body when you were at your heaviest?
I think I've been blessed with kind of like a delusion. But, at any given time, I never thought my body was that. I wasn't ever happy with it, But I also just had this, I guess, the better than average effect, which is, if you ask people how good they are at, say, driving, people tend to say that they're better than average. Even when I was at my, 107 kilos, which is what I was when I was at my heaviest, I still thought I had a pretty good, better than average body. I didn't like it. It's complex because I didn't like my body, but I also thought I was lucky to have it, and I was using it to do all the sports and gym training I was doing. So yeah, it was a complex relationship.
Mm-hmm. And was there a point that you decided that this is enough now? What was the turning point for you? Or you said you kept trying to lose weight. So that was your intention, dieting, binging. What was the bit where you first started to actually lose the weight?
So the weight loss happened in stages. So the first thing that happened was I read Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Body and read about the slow carb diet. And that diet was helpful for me because it taught me how to lose weight. The diet itself wasn't, in my opinion, wasn't a great diet, but it taught me some basic rules. Like Tim Ferriss is big on the diet that you can stick to is miles better than the diet that you can't stick to. So he simplifies it, and he has 7 simple rules, which actually sounds like quite a lot of rules now compared to the diet I have today, which is basically count calories. Mm-hmm. But he had 7 simple rules, and that's just what I followed. I can't actually remember all of them. It was things like avoid starchy white foods, don't drink your calories, don't eat sugar. So I only ate basically low carb food for a few years. And that was that. Anyway, that was the first time I went from 107 kilos to 100 kilos. And that kind of taught me that I could do it. It taught me that was the first time I was able to take control of my diet. Because before that, as I say, it was a constant cycle of, I'd say today's the day I'm starting a diet, I'm losing weight and I'm eating healthy. Then I'd walk by Tesco's and I'd go into Tesco's and I couldn't resist certain foods. So I'm juggling in my head, well, if I just get 1 almond croissant, that would be all right. And going to the gym later, and if I get the croissant, and I probably should get the sandwich meal deal. And then within the store, I was doing all these calculations and juggling. And then when I left the store, now I know I'm bad because I've eaten that. I've already ruined my diet plans and my goals. So now I'm having to think about, right, tonight I'm definitely going to have to go to the gym, or I feel bad, and so I go get some more comfort food to make myself feel better. Whereas when I started the Tim Ferriss, the slow carb diet, it was the first time it was like, okay, now I know what the rules are. One of the rules is that you get to have a massive cheat day. So I went crazy. I remember you not being very happy with me. For years, I used to have 1 day a week where I would just eat anything and everything. And I'd have cakes and donuts and crisps and chocolate all lined up just for breakfast.
I remember just walking around the supermarket with the basket and just you with a big smile on your face. It's like you picked up a whole trifle. And
So it's interesting how I've evolved since then, because when I was doing that, I would argue, and I did argue with you till I was blue in the face, that it was completely necessary to do that in order to let me then go 6 days a week where I could eat clean and stay on track. Whereas now I see that behavior, that cheat day behavior, as I can't fathom it. I can't imagine having the need to go, and that's I think that's been part of my progression. So yeah, sorry, that was the Tim Ferriss diet, the slow carb diet, was kind of the first time I learned how to take control of my food, which is what I credit that diet with. The simple rules to take control.
And then just to clarify, so you mentioned like almond croissants and meal deals and things. When you were at 107 kilos, were you eating, what kind of foods were you eating? Were they particularly high calorie, or was it just a lot of them? What would be like a typical day food?
Yeah, so my family, we don't do moderation. I remember when I first met you, and I went to your house, and your mum gives us 1 sausage and a tiny bit of jacket potato, or a little bit of beans, And I remember thinking, this family knows how to do moderation, because I was never hungry at your mum's house, but that, you know, they just put on your plate what you needed to eat. Whereas at my family, we kind of, I don't know, we just don't do moderation too well. You know, if we have a pack of biscuits, we work our way through the whole biscuit. And that's just how I was brought up. So I think it was just eating, not changing my habits since I was a teenager. You know, when you're eating too, as you know, Alison, because you've read my teenage diaries, I ate a lot of cereal. You know, before I went to school, I'd have some cereal, come back from school, eat cereal, go see some friends, come back, eat some more cereal. And I love cereal. And I remember actually when I was trying to lose weight, just before I started the slow carb diet, I went through a stage of eating all bran or bran flakes or something like that, thinking that they're healthy, because I thought, you know, they're the least flavorful, least interesting cereal. Let's eat that. And I remember
must be healthy if it tastes crap.
Exactly. So, and you know, I remember telling my granddad, and my granddad told me that even those cereals, eating the box would be the most healthy version. It would be the healthiest part of that cereal. And I went home and looked at the ingredient, and it was true. You know, they were filled with sugar. And but it's not so much that that's bad, because you can eat foods that have sugar in it. It's that I thought the distance between reality and what I was thinking was huge. I was thinking I was eating a very healthy food, and it was a really unhealthy food. But on top of that, I was also binging. Looking back now, I really do. I understand that I was a binge eater. Like, you know, I'd get home, and when you get home, well, you just unload, don't you? You just get comfortable. You eat cereal, more cereals. You know, I was eating chocolate and sweets and buying them more often than I should. I was drinking a lot of calories. Just, I think my family have a tendency to get comfort from food, or seek comfort in food, and that's really why I gained a lot of weight.
Yeah, I definitely understand, and you know, I think all of us have had the experience of comfort eating, and eating to the point where, you know, now you're no longer hungry and you might regret it, but it just feels so good and it makes you feel better. So I don't think your experience is unusual at all. So the Tim Ferriss diet, then, you had some 7 rules that you needed to follow, and you very, very strict eating, lots of vegetables, lean protein, few carbs, things like that, and 1 cheat day a week, which I guess was helpful for you because that allowed you to have like a binge in a controlled manner.
Exactly.
And that got you to 100 kilos. What was then the next stage? How did you break past that barrier? And that must have been quite like a big psychological barrier as well, you know, going down to just 2 figures, or...
Yeah, getting past 100 was definitely, I remember when I got to 100, I thought I was skinny. You know, that's the weirdest thing. Like, you're constantly evolving view of yourself on this journey. When I got to 100, I thought, wow, finally, I'm no longer fat. Well, basically, I did keep this slow carb diet going. I didn't do it as strictly. So, for example, Tim, he says to eat 4 times a day. Tim Ferriss recommends, and then he recommends that you have certain foods on your plate, you know, meat, vegetables, and lentils or beans. And I stopped that strict rules, but I kept the low carbs. So I basically didn't eat sugars for many years. I kept the cheat day. I kind of incorporated a mixture. I started doing intermittent fasting. So that's just that's nothing special about fasting, but just to regulate my calories. I would have, butter coffee in the morning, and then I wouldn't eat until about 4 or 5 o'clock, which works really well for me because, I'm a lecturer by day, so I have to let me just work all the way through. So I wouldn't have a lunch or any breaks to eat. And I wasn't hungry. It worked, as I say, it worked well for me. By about 4 or 5 o'clock, I'd start to get hungry, and then I could just eat whatever I wanted. But 6 days a week, I would eat clean, no sugars. And then on that glorious seventh day, I kept the cheat day, of course.
Binge day.
And then I also started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So when I moved up to Lancaster, we obviously joined the local Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu club, or mixed martial arts club that did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I lost about 4 kilos over a few years, lost about 4 kilos at first. So I got to about 96 kilos. And then again, over the course of about 5-6 years, lost another 4 kilos. So just eating that way, keeping that basic diet. But but not very strict diet. You know, I could eat whatever I want in my eating window, although I avoid the sugars and drinking calories. And doing more exercise got me to about 92 kilos. And at 92 kilos, I thought I was now really skinny. I thought this is my natural body weight. This is as slim as I can get. I'm training 5 to 6 times a week. I'm eating reasonably clean. Most people aren't eating as consciously as I am. You know, 6 days a week, eating consciously, avoiding sugars, not drinking calories. And I thought 92 is my natural body type. Then I remember seeing a picture of you on the pole, because of course you do pole dancing. And I remember feeling really happy. Like, you know, this is my girlfriend. Oh my God, she looks gorgeous. I remember you had like your abs were starting to show through. And I thought, how you made me feel looking at that picture shouldn't just be one way. I wanted to make you feel that way about me. When you look at a picture of me, I wanted you to experience, my boyfriend's really fit. And that's when I decided I was going to up the ante a little bit and actually try and take control a little bit more. Actually, do you know what? I've missed a bit there, because that did happen, but it happened after I turned 30.
Okay.
So the first thing that happened was I turned 30, and I was at 92 kilos, but my body wasn't an athletic body. Considering, again, I trained 5 to 6 times a week, and I was also eating consciously, I still didn't have a body where if I took my t-shirt off, anyone could tell I actually did sports or I was an athletic person. So I decided at 30 that I was going to have a long-term goal. I kept telling you, didn't I wanted to be a sexy 40-year-old.
Yeah.
And that's for a couple of reasons. The first reason was I realized when I look at sexy 40-year-olds, they're not necessarily that special. So the people I know, you know, slightly older people I know that are in their 40s that are considered good looking aren't necessarily gorgeous. They just haven't slipped. So my goal was that if I could be a sexy 40-year-old, a lot of that was just be maintaining my body, you know, not allowing myself to get fat by the time I get to 40. And the other part of it was just having a long-term goal, having something to strive for, so that I think one of the issues with short-term goals is that if you don't meet them, firstly, once they're over, they're done and dusted. But secondly, if you don't meet them, if you do something that throws you off course, you don't have a long time to redirect to get back on course. Whereas with the long-term goal, I felt like it was something that I could constantly work towards. Doing a little, but often for 10 years would be much better than trying to do not very much, but sure.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, go for something big very quickly. You'd rather go kind of slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah. So I came up with my idea of what a sexy 40-year-old would look like. And I've really tried to make that vision, like really manifest it. So, you know, it's an idea of me with my top undone, showing my abs. I mean, it's a stupid idea when you say it out loud, but, you know, it's this idea of me with my top undone. I've got my abs and I've got a black belt in jiu-jitsu draped around my neck. I've got a gorgeous girlfriend, obviously, by my side. And, you know, there's other things as well tied in. So it's not just physical. That's, you know, the having you by my side is the relationship. I've got at 40, I've got as thriving a relationship as I had at 30. I'm leaning up against a car. And, you know, you and I don't really care about cars that much, but the car represents financial stability or money, or if it's a fast car, so it represents a bit of excitement as well. And I just started to do things like, how can I start making that vision come true? You know, because at the path I was on up to 30 was not taking me towards that vision. And then, so that's when I built my gym. So we used to have an outdoor room. We still do have an outdoor room. It's like a shed outdoors in my garden, isn't it? And we used to have washing machines in there, or tools, actually, wasn't it? We used it for tools. The people before us used it for washing machines. And we turned that into a gym. And that was the first time I really started to work out regularly. And because I'd always wondered to myself, how come I can make myself go and do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 6 days a week, but I can't make myself go and lift weights at all? You know, anytime I'd ever tried to lift weights, I would just, I'd go for a few days and be bored and not really see any changes, and then trail off. And it was a real struggle to get myself into the gym. Whereas I could go to the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu dojo easily. You know, you can have grown men sitting on me and crushing me and yanking my arms.
I love it, weirdly.
Exactly, yeah. But I couldn't make myself go and lift. So what I did was I identified the things. What is it I don't like about weightlifting? One of the things was I really didn't like when you get to the gym and you have to suddenly start doing like mental arithmetics in your head as to what things are free, what aren't free, which ones are, you know, I need to squat, but the squats are being used, but I could do the leg press, but the leg press, you know, they're supposed to do that after you squat because it's this, all this stuff, you know. And I also didn't like, I know this sounds weird, but the journey to the gym, like once I'm in the gym, I knew it was fine, but the idea of being on my couch, I just having to drive 10 minutes to the gym really often put me off going to the, I know it sounds like a stupid excuse or reason, but that alone, I also identified that. So I realized the importance of getting a home gym. So we invested quite a bit of money in buying all the equipment and raising the roof on the shed. And that's when I built the gym. So that was the first step. When I had this idea of being a sexy 40-year-old, getting my home gym up and running was the first step. And then just making sure I used it, making sure I got in there. And then what happened after, once I established that training, and once I had established weightlifting, I then had that moment where I looked at you, a picture of you, and felt obviously, you know, really, I don't know, good that my girlfriend was so attractive and in shape and doing something that she loved. Obviously, you know, just the whole package of seeing you on the pole. And I thought like, oh, I want to give Alison that feeling. You know, the feeling she's given me, I want to give her. And that's when I really took control of my diet. So I'd already been weightlifting for a year or two by then. And then I decided it's time to really take control of the diet and get some abs for Alison.
Abs for Alison, I like it. Good campaign. Yeah. So what was the thing, you said that it was difficult to get off the couch and drive to the gym. What was the thing that allowed you to get off the couch and do the short 30-second walk to the gym outside in the house?
At first it was, I had a personal trainer. So I paid a friend of mine who's a personal trainer once a month to come round, give me a workout, work me through it, all this stuff, and just not wanting to let him down. So, you know, I didn't want to be the guy that paid him some money, you know, told him I was committed, and then the next month when he comes around, have to say, yeah, I didn't really do much. So there's definitely that social commitment. Then I went to Singapore for a few weeks for work. And when I was in Singapore, I kept on going to the gym. And it was almost like watching myself do that told me I was the person that goes to the gym. Because I was fully expecting that when I would go to Singapore, you know, I'd get caught up with visiting colleagues and friends. You know, you're on holiday, it's sunny. I'm not going to want to go to the gym. But when I saw myself tell my you know, colleagues, actually, sorry, I'm going to have to head. I'm going to be a bit late coming for dinner because I'm finding a new gym first. And then when I went to the gym every day and found that I enjoyed going to the gym, I suddenly realized, oh, I'm the kind of person that goes to the gym when they're on holiday. So that was a big moment.
So you started changing the shift in your identity, and that kind of helps you build the momentum, I suppose, then to keep you going. You are the person now who does the gym. Big
time. And in fact, I started an Instagram just before I went to Singapore, which is basically, you know, let me post whatever I want. If I want to post me working out, I post me working out, and don't have to feel sheepish or ashamed about, you know, being a poser or whatever. If I want to post today, if I want to post my abs, so I take a picture and I see abs, I put it on Instagram. And that was really helpful because it let me be in my own little universe away from the public. It let me be, I am now a weightlifter, and I can post things that are healthy, and I can post me doing these weightlifting things or these healthy things. And then it also provided somewhere where I could scroll through and I could see, oh, look what all I've done. So when I'm feeling, maybe I slipped up, I missed a workout, maybe I've slipped on my diet, I can scroll through and be like, oh no, this is who I am. You know, I'm not defined by the fact that I just missed a workout. I'm defined by all of these workouts I've actually got. And then, you know, I'm posting and I'm enthusiastic about it. So I found that very helpful as well. When you think of it in terms of identity, it was nice to have a personal diary. I've opened up now to a select few friends and, you know, fellow training partners and whatnot. But it was really nice for a couple of years just to have a private Instagram filled with a reminder and a cue as to that part of myself.
I love that idea. I think definitely sometimes you're right. You know, some of the more negative things that happen in our life or events can be more salient. So you look back and you're like, oh, it's been a really crap week because whatever happened. But you forget all the times that things were good, or, you know, you were in line with your goals. So I really like that idea of using the Instagram as a personal reflection and a way to help you build into your emerging new identity.
Yeah. Well, what helped me as well, when you do slip up, which you will definitely slip up, was again coming back to Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss is big on the least worst. What's the least worst response? So, you know, once you've slipped up and okay, you've eaten some food you shouldn't have eaten, or not done a training, or whatever the case might be. Okay, so that's bad. What's the least worst? What's the least bad you can make that situation now? The worst thing you could do, or a bad thing to do, is once you've binged, to continue binging. The least worst thing you can do is to stop binging and to recommit to getting in the gym tomorrow. So I found that really helpful as well.
And so now you're doing your gym, you're regularly in the garden working out, lifting weights. You're doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu 4 or 5 times a week. So your physical activity is on point now. You said the next stage was about taking control of your eating, and you made a comment earlier about thinking that things that you were eating were healthy, you know, in relation to bran flakes or cereal. What was your knowledge at this time about the food that you were eating and the kind of the health aspect or not? And then how did you start to change your diet?
Yeah, so I think I got caught up in fad diets, to be honest. Like I think I overcomplicated it. What I now realize, I spent a long time listening to different podcasts, you know, I won't name names, but just listen to different podcasts and people saying that you should, you know, not eat carbs and you should eat high fats and all this stuff. And essentially I was just eating too many calories. I mean, that's what it boils down to. I remember telling you and I both said, you know, it was it's weird that I'm training 6 times a week, which most people aren't, you know, and I'm still quite fat at 92 kilos, which is what, bear in mind, I thought that was just my floor. I couldn't go less than 92. You know, getting under 92 was always really difficult. And at 92 kilos, I just thought I'm just stuck with these love handles and chub around, you know, around my body. And we felt like it just wasn't fair. And then this is when I saw the photo, and I saw that photo that I keep talking about, and I had this desire to make you feel as good as the picture of you made me feel. And I don't know why, but maybe I think we had a couple of friends at the time talking about low calories. And I know another one of my martial art friends was talking about low calories at the time. And I just decided, let's do it. Let's try and start counting calories. However, the problem with that is I had this weird idea of counting calories as being this kind of arduous, difficult. Just to count calories is going to be crazy, insanely difficult. So what I did was I took the control out of my hands and I said, Alison, I'm only going to eat what you let me eat. If you don't let me eat it, and I asked you to count the calories, didn't I? Yeah. So for a couple of weeks, I just ate whatever you allowed me to eat. And it was actually really nice. One of the things that I've realized on this whole journey is when you're trying to be moderate or you're trying to juggle, it's really hard. You know, when you're constantly trying to think about what you're eating and then you eat bad, so you're trying to have to correct for that. Whereas if you just follow rules, you know, this is what I learned from Tim Ferriss back in the day. Just identify some rules and follow them. You can go mindless. So the most mindless in terms of calorie counting was when you were in charge of my calories, and I just ate whatever you allowed me to eat. And I did that for about a year, and I went from 92 to about 85. Sometimes got to about 83 kilos, but then my weight would go back up to 85. And then around February of this year, I discovered a man on the internet called Greg Doucette, who's on YouTube. And he has what he calls his anabolic diet, which is low calorie, high protein. He encourages people to eat low calorie, high protein foods. I've kind of changed it. I've changed it to low calorie, high protein, high nutrients, and delicious foods. And the reason I add that high nutrients in is because eating to lose weight is kind of independent from eating to eat healthily. You know, you could eat nothing but chocolate, and if you eat under your calories, you will lose weight. So I try to eat by adding that nutrients in there. It just puts like me in the frame of mind of trying to find the nutrients as well. So I try to eat my fruit and veg every day, rather than just trying to eat the low calorie, high protein foods.
Mm-hmm.
And that really did, and that's basically that got me down from 85 kilos to 70. I was aiming for 77.5, and I've dipped below there a few times, but at the moment I'm about 78 kilos.
Wow. So that's a massive shift then, down from 92 to 78. And
bearing in mind that when I was at 92, I thought that was my lower limit, you know, and now I'm at 78 kilos. But really the take home message for me is I'm eating tastier food. I'm eating way more food in terms of volume than I've ever eaten before. And I've eaten healthier food. So even though I know there's people out there that might look at this and be like, oh my God, he's obsessed with diet. Actually, I'm eating better and caring less than I've ever cared about my diet before.
in terms of, you mean like the mental battles and the bargaining, you mean, or?
Exactly, because I'm no longer every day trying to eat healthy, but knowing that I'm not going to eat healthy. And then when I don't eat healthy, slip up, and now I feel bad, but then I have to get back on the horse and try and think about how am I going to change it. You know, it's like I know what foods I can eat, that I know they're super tasty because I don't eat food that isn't super tasty. I know they're healthy because, you know, I'm eating between 6 and 8 portions of fruit and veg a day, drinking tons of water. And I can just go mindless. I can just enjoy the foods. Even if I do slip up and binge, I'm binging on healthy, low calories foods, you know, so the damage done is so much less than back in the day when I'd start binging.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, I think we said when you first started counting calories and you gave the control over to me, that was only for a week or two. It wasn't, you said you've been doing it now for like a while by yourself, but me controlling you was just for a week.
That was just to get me, that was just to, you know, because it's hard to do everything yourself at once. And so that was just to get me over the hurdle. And then I used MyFitnessPal, and MyFitnessPal makes life so much easier. I always tell my friends that want to lose weight, take the time to scan all the foods in that you eat, and then once it's in, MyFitnessPal saves you so much time in terms of counting calories.
And give me an example of what you might be eating now on your diet. You know, earlier you were saying back when you were 107 kilos, it was almond croissant, it was meal deal, it was comfort eating. What does it look like now? So
my diet actually sounds really bad because I'm eating pancakes and French toast and ice cream. But actually they're all low calorie, high protein versions. So I make my own pancakes. Again, that Greg Doucette has pancake recipe on YouTube. So I usually start most days off with a massive pancake, you know, big plate sized protein pancake made of egg whites, or French toast. French toast is my favorite at the moment. You know, you make some French toast, you just basically soak bread in egg whites, cinnamon and some vanilla bean extract, and then I cook them in blueberries. So, you know, it's just really delicious and high protein and super filling. That's the main thing. You know, when people hear about dieting, they think it's boring, or they think, you know, it takes a lot of work. I look forward to having my pancake or my French toast in the morning. Protein ice cream is another thing. You know, we have a Vitamix, a blender. You just chuck frozen fruit and water and ice and some peanut butter powder in there, and it just tastes absolutely amazing. I look forward to that as well. So it's replacing the unhealthy high protein foods with healthy versions of them. I make there's a YouTube channel called Flexible Dieting Lifestyle, and they have a few pizza recipes. So I have a 200 calorie pizza version, high protein pizza version that I eat rather than having pizzas. Because back in the day, you and I would just be, if we were nibblish or, you know, time for dinner, we'd put a proper pizza in the oven, and we'd do that a couple of times a week. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, pizzas are fine, but they're you're looking at 1,000 calories. So whereas now I'm having a pizza for 200 calories, and it still satisfies that cheesy tomatoey goodness. It's just an alternative to the 1,000 calorie pizza.
I remember that day when I realized, because like you, I've also been on a bit of a journey in terms of knowledge and understanding. And I remember that pizza that we used to buy from Aldi, which was delicious. I remember learning that it was 1,000 calories and just being like, I don't know now if I can eat it anymore. Like my calorie intake for the day is 1,600. So that would leave me with barely anything. And I remember quite early on when we still had the pizza in the freezer, I cooked it and cut it in half. And I remember thinking like, oh, I've got to really enjoy this. So I sat down, I didn't have any TV. I didn't, I just sat there super mindfully, ate this pizza, and it was delicious. But at the same time, I was like, is it really worth it?
So that raises an interesting point for me, because you have always been slim. We see pictures of you now where we're like, oh, you did actually, you were bigger back then. You've obviously lost weight over the years and leaned up as you started doing pole fitness. But it does raise the question of, why should you care so much if you are happy with how you look? I don't know what your reasons are for caring. Why did you care so much about that being 1,000 calories?
I think for me, it's maintenance. So I know that I can only go so far, and then things will start changing. And I feel uncomfortable, I guess, if I'm beyond my band of what I deem to be acceptable. So there's a lot of course correction for me over a short period of time that I don't know. I just feel more comfortable in a certain weight range. So now we have scales and I step on the scales every day, and that helps me to course correct quite early on.
Right. So for you, it's about maintaining how you currently look.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But I remember when so I'd been eating the high protein, high calorie, low calorie, high volume, delicious foods for a while. I remember I decided, right, time to binge, time to have a controlled binge. I'm missing sweets and chocolate. So I went out and bought some sweets and chocolate, and I weighed at 1,000 calories. And it came to, a tiny little bowl full of food. And I ate it in about 10 minutes. Like, all the wine gums and Haribo and Cadbury's chocolate disappeared in about 10 minutes. And I just remember thinking, damn it, now I've just ate 1,000 calories. I'm not satisfied at all. That could have been 4 plate-sized pancakes, or that could have been 8 pieces of French toast, or that could have been 3-4 portions of ice cream, protein ice cream. I suddenly realized, like, it's just like money. Me and you always compare calories to money, and it's like spending money. And I just felt like I spent a ton of money on something that gave me very little benefit. Whereas most people, when they go to the shops, they're looking for the most they can get for their buck, the most bang for their buck. It's about finding good deals that are worth your money. And that was the day I really realized that I got nearly zero satisfaction from those sweets and chocolates. But it had cost me 1,000 calories that I could now not spend on other food that day.
That's a really useful analogy, actually, because most people don't go around living in the red all the time. We can manage our money more or less to have a house, have a job, pay the bills, etc. So it's interesting that we struggle so much, I guess, because calories aren't so easy to see. You have to do some effort to figure out what they contain.
It's not natural. We tell our friends that we've got some family that we say, we encourage to count calories that if they're trying to lose weight. And you hear comments like, I can't count calories. I can't do that. It doesn't work for me. Not that calorie counting isn't, calories in, calories out isn't. They're not saying it doesn't work. They're saying counting calories for them doesn't work. But the same people we see, balancing budgets every day. That's all it is. It's a budget that you have. And finding ways to basically finding cheap foods that you can eat that are healthy, that don't take you away from your goals, that don't cost a lot.
It's so interesting. I feel like I could talk to you about this forever, but I'm mindful of time. And I know we have a second part that we're going to get on, but just to kind of close off this discussion, is there any advice that you would give to someone who is on a similar journey to being a sexy 40-year-old or weight loss journey? What would you say to them?
I would say have the long-term goal. If you want to lose weight, it's all about diet. I mean, it's about a calorie deficit, so exercise will help. But it's easier I always think it's easier to not eat 500 calories than it is to burn off those 500 calories. It's really hard to burn off 500 calories, but just to change your diet so that you save 500 calories throughout the day is much easier. I would say this is the hard one. This is the one that I can't tell people how to do, or I can't say why I was able to do it. But sometimes you go from not being able to commit to suddenly being able to commit. And I think it's just a decision. At some point, I decided that when I don't feel like going into the gym, those are the days I will definitely go in the gym. And it's just that make a commitment to it. Like me and you sometimes say the term "no compromise." Like there's some things that we just don't When I say no compromise, I always think that there's a little asterisk where I think everything's compromisable. Like when I say no compromise, what I mean is 95% don't compromise. I'm getting in that. If I'm going to get in that gym 6 out of 7 days a week, no compromise. With a little asterisk there that, of course, if Alison got hit by a bus, I would go to the hospital, not the gym. Leave
her be. Leave her on the road.
And you also have different levels of no compromise. I try and do my workouts on the days I'm supposed to do them, that's an 80% no compromise. Whereas I make sure I do six workouts a week, and that's 95% no compromise. So yes, this week because of work, I was busy with work at the moment, having just returned back to new academic year. I missed 2 workouts this week, so I did 2 workouts on my day off. Because even though I'm able to miss the days, the rule, the no compromise of make sure you get in the gym 6 out of 7 days a week is really important to me. So I made sure I did all 6 workouts. But it's hard because finding that commitment is, if everyone could just do that and just decide that they're just going to do the things that they want to do or think they need to do to get to where they want to be, they would do it. So how do you go from not having that commitment to having that commitment? One phrase I regularly come back to that has helped me find that commitment, I think it was by MMA fighter Chael Sonnen, who said a few times, he comes up with great motivational quotes, but one of them was, it's easy. You can find a million reasons not to go to the gym. Your job is to find the one reason to go. And when I've come back to that a few times, that's helped me with my no compromise rule. That's a completely different mentality. Most people with the gym, they're almost looking for reasons to not go. It's almost, and those reasons present themselves. You have friends ask you out, your family needs you, kids need food, whatever the case might be. And you're but it's just a mentality shift. Find the one, and you'll always be able to find one reason to go. Find the one reason to get in the gym and ignore the million reasons you have not to.
And your one reason, I guess, that you can always come back to is this sexy 40-year-old. I want to be a sexy 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Great. Well, the second part of the podcast is all about the environment and sustainability. And Neil, what does the environment mean to you?
It means nature. I don't know. It means, it's home. It's a place where we live. Even if we don't live in nature, we live, in the environment.
Do you have any particular positive memories or, feelings or images that come to mind of things that are really kind of meaningful, or places in the environment that are really meaningful to you?
I grew up in a small seaside town. So whenever I think of, parts of the environment that really mean a lot to me, I think about the beach. I spent a lot of time when I was a kid just playing on the beach. My mum used to row for the local rowing club, which was a beachside thing. So we used to spend loads of time just on the beach. And then I used to, throughout my teenage years, I used to run. I would always run along the beach. And I just remember, the nighttime with the moon above the waters, and I'd be running along there. There's also, where I grew up, a bunch of hills. So I always think about the hills, that wherever you are in the town, you can normally always see the hills. And just going to those hills, every few months or so, I'd go up the hills, usually go for a run up there, and give you kind of a sense of peace. You could look over your town and see the beach in the horizon, and often you could see France as well. So that's what immediately comes to mind. And then in terms of the beach, when I went to university, I went to Brighton, which is a seaside city. And I kept the running up. So I used to again run along that beach. So yeah, that's what comes to mind straight away.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like, when you're at university, when you're growing up, does it still have that hold for you now, the hills and the beach?
When I go back home, it does. When I go back and see family, you visit the beach there and see the hills. You and I have been up the hills a few times, haven't we now? But in terms of locally, now I've moved up to the north of England, and we have the lakes nearby. And we have lots of walks and fields. We take our dog for walks. So that's more recently. That's what I associate the environment with. Taking places we can take our dogs for nice long walks through.
Mm-hmm. So lots of people care about the environment and enjoy the environment. And I guess sometimes it's difficult to act on those values, those personal values. So I invite you at your option to come up with something that you can do to act on that thing that you care about. So it doesn't have to fix all the world's problems overnight. It has to be something new that you've not done before. It can be big, it can be small, it can be temporary, but something that's meaningful to you, that helps you kind of act on those personal values.
Yeah, I like this idea of acting on personal values. So I mean, I was thinking about this earlier, and I was thinking one thing I could do. I like my coffee, and I was thinking that I could definitely use recycling cups. I have a couple of reusable cups. So when I do go to buy my coffee, I should be making more of an effort to take my recyclable cups along. So that's one thing I would do, and because that happens a few times a week, that'd be a nice kind of way of reaffirming my values about the value for the environment. I have started to pick up litter as well. My girlfriend has been on this litter kick lately. So when I'm out and about and I see some litter, that in the past I would have just left it, I guess. But now I regularly pick it up. You and I often laugh about the fact that we're slowly realizing that maybe our parents weren't so stupid. Yeah, I remember your mum used to pick up litter, didn't she?
Oh yeah.
And as kind of ignorant 20-year-olds, we'd be like, oh my god, she's picking up litter, what is wrong with her? Why?
So embarrassing. God, mum.
Yeah
And
now it's like, why were we like that? Why do we think that? Of course it's a nice thing to do, and it keeps the human environment a nicer place to live, and it might stop animals choking on random bottle caps or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, so a few ideas there then. Is there one perhaps around using or bringing a reusable coffee cup? Would you do it for a set period of time, like a week, a month, a year?
No, I think I'll just commit to doing it from now on.
From now on?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, it's not that hard. To be honest with you, I used to do it anyway, and then I think when lockdown happened, we stopped going to coffee shops. But we've got a cupboard full of them, of cups. And then since we've come out of lockdown, I just haven't got in the habit of taking a cup with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I aim to get back to doing it again all the time. Just what I don't want to happen, and I know this happens with plastic bags, is just to keep on buying reusable cups when I'm in the store, because that's just
kind of defeats the object.
Exactly. I don't want to have to end up with 20 reusable cups in my cupboard.
I'm still sticking in line with the challenge. It's not broken, counts.
Is it? Yeah. So the key thing for me, the key part of the challenge is to remember to take a cup with me. And that would be the habit forming. That is the habit forming that I need to do to be successful at this goal.
And maybe if you don't have a cup with you, would you go as far as to say, okay, I won't have a takeaway coffee then, or I'll have my coffee inside. I'll find whatever amount of time it is and sit inside.
Yeah, I think that's in that order. So I'd try and sit inside, but if I have, if we take our dog Louie with us to town, then I will. Yeah, that would have to be the commitment that I wouldn't just go and buy a cup. Yeah, standard cup, takeaway cup, because I think that would actually be the weakness. You know, I want a coffee, so I'm going to go get a coffee. I think that, and even choosing not to have a coffee instead of using a takeaway cup would be a reaffirmation of my values for the environment.
Absolutely. So to clarify then, your personal challenge is to not use any, is to use a reusable coffee cup if you want to have coffee from a cafe. And if you don't have the cup with you, you won't buy another one. So your challenge is to bring the cup, or have coffee in, or don't have coffee at all.
Perfect. Sounds
and
good.
This is now going forward forever.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Well, let's do
Okay.
it for at least. Let's do it for at least a week.
A week.
A month.
A month. Okay. Yeah.
We
could try a month.
month.
I think, yeah, when you talk about a long-term goal, it's okay to have little bits along the way, I guess. So if it's a month, would it be possible to have a further conversation with you to see how it's going and check in after a month? Yeah. Fantastic.
You know where I live.
With me. Phil. All right. Well, thank you so much, Neil, for that really super interesting conversation. I've really enjoyed hearing about your journey and the person that I've enjoyed seeing it as well, you know, right in front of my eyes, the person that you've grown into. And there's so many useful kind of tips and strategies that you've given that I hope will really help people if they are having similar struggles. So thank you so much.
I hope so too.
What a fabulous conversation with Neil. I thought it was so interesting, and actually we covered so much more than just weight loss. I felt like we really started digging into some of the reasons underpinning behavior change of any nature, whether it's weight loss, whether it's wanting to achieve another goal like writing a book or doing whatever sports goal you might have. There are some things that apply ubiquitously. I thought it might be helpful just to go through some of the key things to recap. So one of the things that Neil said was that rules and the importance of rules in helping him, in his words, go mindless, and how before he had some simple rules in place, he was doing a lot of mental juggling and bargaining. You know, if I eat this croissant, then I have to work out, or I have to earn it, or something has to happen in order for me to do X. And this constant kind of back and forth, and how when you have rules, it can just simplify. Follow the rules. If it's not in line with your rules, then don't do it. He also talked about identifying individual barriers that stopped him from his goals. So one of the things that he mentioned was about not finding going to the gym enjoyable, because he'd be sitting on the couch and the idea of getting in the car and driving 10 minutes. And then once he got there, seeing that the weights were being used and trying to work out how he could do his workout without compromising and also being around other people. And once he identified that barrier, or those barriers, he removed them rather effectively by building a gym, you know, in his house or right next to his house. And it's helpful, I guess, to have that level of insight and knowledge into your own behavior. And then if you have the luxury of doing something to overcome those barriers, then doing it if it's in your power to do so, and it's an important goal for you. Another interesting idea was this concept of your diet is a budget, and that you have your calorie allowance for the day, and it's up to you to spend how to use it in a way to get the most calorie bang for your buck. And thinking about food then in terms of how much satisfaction and pleasure it gives you related to how many calories it has and how much you have to use up for that day. I think that's a really interesting idea because, like I said, so many of us are able to live in the black. You know, we are able to be okay with keeping our money in bank accounts and keeping a job down and being able to put food on the table. So we have that skill. It's just applying it in a slightly different way. And then the other thing he said was no compromise. Well, 95% don't compromise, asterisks. And I really like this idea of finding, you know, a million reasons not to go to the gym. And your job is to find the one reason to go. And related to that was this idea that he had this enduring goal or vision of himself as a sexy 40-year-old. And this vision was so tangible, you know, the way he was describing it, what he meant, what he looked like, what the things meant, and it being very attractive, you know, really something that you want to follow. And having that vision allows you to have this long-term goal. And if you go off track a little bit every now and then it's no problem. You can just redirect and course correct as and when you need to. And lastly, I mean, I could go on forever talking about this, but using Instagram or social media as a tool for behavior change, using it to help you reaffirm your identity, to help you develop your identity, and to help you monitor and see your emerging, changing identity by looking back and seeing all the things that you've posted that are helping you get in line with the person that you want to be and the thing that you want to do. I thought that was a fabulous idea. And you don't have to, if you feel nervous about posting it, you know, publicly in front of your friends and family, you can just keep it private and look at it for yourself and see this is the person that you are. And ultimately, once you start to see yourself in a new light, achieving your goal is on the way. It's going to happen. It helps to build that momentum that just grows and grows. And what was difficult now becomes easy. And well, you just become unstoppable. Really fab conversation. I loved it. Please do let me know if you have any other takeaways, anything that really struck you as powerful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And of course, do all those things, like, subscribe, and I hope to see you next time.